It's 2010. I'm in the middle of getting my application decisions for college and building my political interest as president and founder of my high school student union. I had high hopes for getting into Berkeley and UCLA that didn't quite work out, but I did get into UC Santa Barbara, though I didn't really want to come here. New York University and Santa Monica College were my top two choices, but I decided to enroll at NYU and eventually at the last minute went to UCSB to avoid debt and stay closer to home. During the same year, Isla Vista was in a precarious position. We faced a fierce debate with the County of Santa Barbara and the university regarding the closure of the beaches in response to 2009's Floatopia. The social host ordinance served as another flashpoint where the law enforcement was given the ability to enter a property with only the suspicion of underage drinking, serving as another flashpoint of action taken on the community by those not in the community. And our local political leadership at the time, to make things worse, was anti-student, had no regard for the families who lived here, and didn't even have an ambitious vision of how to make Isla Vista a better place for all. Now, let's go forward to 2014, March 3rd. I had 79 days left in my time as Associate Students President. Serving as AS President was the defining moment of my time at UCSB. I lived and breathed UCSB. I made sure to meet every student and add them on Facebook, 5,000 friends from UCSB. I got to know all the campus leadership. I learned everything about UCSB and the student social dynamics. And I got involved in every major student issue. Excuse me. Being a senior in college, everyone asks you the question, what are you going to do after you graduate? I just asked someone back here. Everyone who's been on the college campus has been asked this question, and I never had an answer. I spent the 4 years I had at UCSB training and trying to win and being the best student body president possible. So I had no plans past June 2014. I applied to some grad schools and got in and looked at some fellowships, but wasn't that excited about them. So as the year started to end, I looked at my phone frantically, trying to wrap up the loose ends I had and set the foundation for the future on projects I was working on, one being creating self-governance in Isla Vista through a community services district. On the Isla Vista side of the story, the community was in the middle of a defining year. It was a year of tragedy, but it was also a year of intense community building. At the start, Isla Vista was powerless. We had no way to improve ourselves or make decisions for ourselves. We didn't have a broad authority local government here. The unelected Isla Vista Redevelopment Agency had just dissolved, but in the wake of its decisions it's made, Isla Vista was facing a wave of gentrification represented with high-rise luxury apartments, the Loop, the Icon, resisted by the locals, right next to the decaying infrastructure we already had. The trend of over-policing continued with the county and the university. With the day before Deltopia 2014, surveillance cameras were sprung up on Del Playa. Isla Vista continued to be a place that had things happen to it, but not with the ability to make things happen on its own. By March of 2014, we had already faced a sharp increase in crime, highly publicized and horrific sexual assaults, and even a meningitis outbreak. Just to name a few, and this is before we faced a mass shooting and riot on Del Playa. Myself and the other AS executives at the time served as the de facto political leadership of Isla Vista. And as you can imagine, it was incredibly challenging to react to these instances without any ability to act with authority. And we were fending off developers enabled by the county. We were fending off over-policing by those outside of our community. We were fending off a culture of toxic masculinity that created the environment for the shooting, and we were fending off a general fear of safety in Isla Vista, and again, without the ability to act on our own. So these incidents in a series really tested the will of Isla Vista, but really brought us together at the same time to start addressing the underlying issues facing our community. It took, all the improvements we had been proposing for Isla Vista only gained attention from people with money and power after the riot, but really in earnest after the shooting. It became apparent to me that the only way you can improve Isla Vista or make any change happen was to have a tragedy. In 2014, that was the murder of 6 people. What was going to take next time? On the other hand, though, the community came together like never before. We organized with compassion, we emotionally supported each other, and we started having community meeting after community meeting to look at our past, present, and future. At the aftermath of the year, with my passion for the community and not as much for grad school, the decision to stay and work on self-governance was easy. I didn't have a plan, I didn't know what that meant, and I didn't have a place to live, but I did it. I gradually started to work. I met others who shared my belief that self-governance was not only necessary, but also possible. Lots of people said it wasn't, and we got to work. Started building a movement over the next 6 months, despite fierce opposition from the people who'd benefit from the status quo, the landlords, and people who just had a general contempt for Isla Vista. And our movement led to the introduction of Assembly Bill 3 by Das Williams to form the Isla Vista Community Services District. Let's move forward, back to the future, to today. Personally, I'm doing great. It was a good decision. The crazy plan I had in June of 2014 became the biggest accomplishment of my life. I serve as vice president of the board at Santa Barbara City College, representing Isla Vista. I walk 3 minutes to work to be general manager of the Isla Vista Community Services District, executing the vision that we had when creating it, something I never thought I'd get to do. And since I live down the street from a major public university, I decided to enroll in UCSB's Masters of Technology Management, which I graduated from in June, giving me 2 graduations from UCSB 4 years apart. Isla Vista is also light years ahead of its former self. We haven't lost our spirit. We're still the spectacular beach town full of young people, but now we have a renewed sense of community and long-term thinking. We own our future now. There's a new generation of people here now who are committed to the long-term improvement of Isla Vista. And we needed this. Isla Vista, in the past 4 years, since 2014, has developed more in the non-physical sense than any of the previous decades combined. So as I look at the past 4 years, I think to myself, why didn't we do this before? Why did it take tragedy after tragedy after tragedy to make Isla Vista better, to make anyone care? And I wish I had an answer for you. Our hope, though, in creating the Isla Vista Community Services District was to take a wrecking ball to this cycle of neglect that we face before and after every tragedy in Isla Vista, but also to build a vehicle that allows residents to directly participate in the betterment of their own community. And in only 1 year, we started March 1st, 2017, and with no money, we've already done just that. We've implemented a long-desired community policing program. We operate a local community room. We are on the brink of launching a new tenant-landlord mediation service and a graffiti removal service. And we're about to start creative, tangible plans to create more parking and, right? To create more parking and crowdsource a few dozen small-scale infrastructure projects. Isla Vista self-governance is an actualized reality. It's no longer just a vision for the future. So, some lessons learned. In the past 8 years, I've learned a lot and has had a lot reinforced that drives my own political involvement. The first one, it should not take a tragedy to create political change. You know, as a society, we need to be aspirational and proactive in determining our future. We can't wait until college tuition or college student loan debt is $2 trillion to take action on college affordability, just like we can't wait until we run out of fresh water to take action on our water usage. Second, we can do anything. Nothing is impossible politically, in the best and worst sense. People, over and over again, create these political truths that X policy is completely impossible, will never happen. I can't tell you how many times I heard that over and over again from day one of learning what a CSD even is, but now it exists. When there's a will, there's a way sounds really cheesy, but it's very relevant politically. Third, it really takes prolonged investment to make communities work. Myself and others were derided a lot that we decided to stay here and help improve Isla Vista after graduating, since it's not normal. But in LA and San Francisco, you have communities thriving because people live there for a long time and reinvest their time into making them better. Isla Vista needs this too, and every community needs this. I found my community in Isla Vista. Isla Vista found community after a tragedy, but now we're building the community we've always wanted. Thank you.